everyone, this is Niharika and I welcome you on behalf of ILCC. Today we have with us Sayam Jha from NUJS. Sayam and his team, after winning the national rounds, have also won the world round of the Stetson International Environmental Moot Court Competition in April 2023. Additionally, Sayam has also won the award for the best speaker, again in the national and the world rounds. So Sayam, many congratulations to you for that. Along with this, he has also had a wide experience in mooting and in ADR competitions and debates. So we have invited him here to share his experience with you all. Sayam, this was my short introduction for you. Since you can introduce yourself better, I will now hand it over to you, after which we can get started with the questions.
Hi Niharika, thank you for that introduction. I'm Sayam Jha, currently in my fourth year at NUJS Kolkata. I come from Kolkata as well. So yeah, my experience largely in mooting has been restricted to actually two moots in fact. I've been Manfred Lax twice now and Stetson once. And yeah, that's a bit about me.
All right. First things first, please describe to us your Stetson journey from the very beginning, running through the prelims, the finals, and ultimately the world rounds.
Right, it was nothing short of a movie script to be very honest. Specifically the international round. We won the Indian round hands down, without facing any defeat in any of the rounds. So going to international rounds is a different type of competition altogether. Having teams from all over the world with different types of capabilities and different amounts of preparation was something new for me, honestly. Uh, Out of the four prelims, actually we lost two prelims. So at the end of the preliminary round, we were pretty sure that we are not going to break to the quarters. And well, our speaker scores were extremely high, so that helped us through. And quarters, semis, and finals was were the same teams actually which we faced in prelims. So the two rounds which we lost out in the quarters and semis were the same teams which we were defeated by in the prelims. So yeah.
Okay. So international competitions are no joke, right? So what was your crisis strategy, if we can call it that? Meaning, did you have a codified strategy in place to handle the unforeseen questions, so to say? Because you don't
Uh,
really know what question is going to be thrown at you, right? So while preparing, all we can do is assume a certain questions while keeping in mind that there are going to be times when we are going to be not going to be prepared to what to say next. So how did you manage in those times?
so there's like a simple strategy which we had deployed. Our coach helped us through it a lot. So whenever we had an argument, I and my co-speaker and my researchers as well, all of us used to sit down and go to the what, why, where of the argument. It's a thumb rule where you essentially try to drill down the argument as much as you can. And in this process, you try to get everything out of it, whether it be policy wise, law wise, history of the law, validity, legitimacy, everything. But yes, that does not mean that all types of questions are covered. There's still certain questions which might come in and blindside you. The only way to handle that is, I personally believe that as many practice rounds as you can do will actually help you with that. So I remember before internationals and after nationals, there was a period of 3 months or so where I and my team decided that we'll at least try to get 100 practice rounds before the international, so that we get all our bases covered. That was the basic strategy we had, and yeah, some things you prepare, other things you experience, and you try to experience them before the round, so nothing puts you off in the round actually.
Right. So what could we say was the noticeable difference according to you in the national and the world rounds? So if we look at one aspect of it, which could be feedback. So feedback is something which keeps differing, right? It tells you more about the perspective of the people judging the rounds. So how different was the feedback for different rounds, or only only restricting it to the feedback, but what any other aspect if we could relate to?
So there's one major difference between nationals and internationals which we have noticed, and that is when it comes to the judges specifically. In national rounds, you face a lot of questions which come from third world approach, specifically in PL. And that is something out of the ordinary because, like, from what I have seen and noticed in other modes, the law pretty much remains the same and the questions remain the same no matter where the rounds are. However, specifically in India, when it comes to PIL judges, the rounds are grilled in such a way that you will face all types of questions, whether it be philosophical, whether it be based on jurisdiction, or whether it be based on the approach the nations have towards the law. And these are certain rounds which you generally don't expect in a moot round, where you have to decide jurisprudence of certain argument you are running. But yeah, that is something very positive about India rounds, that you will be grilled so much so that by the time you go to internationals, you'll be pretty much sure that, yeah, if I can go through that, there's nothing else which I cannot go through. And yeah, feedback wise, I think Indian judges are extremely diligent. So they just don't give you feedback on law or how to approach it. They also go in the basics of how you speak, how you command the court, how professional your demeanor is. There is slight changes in the demeanor and court presentation when you go from nationals to internationals. But that being said, I think Indian rounds grill you enough to prepare you for anything.
Okay, so you have had prior experience in competition. So if you could tell us just a couple of tips and tricks which can help us grasp the skills needed for it in a better manner, if you could just tell about us that.
There are 2, 3 things which I'll actually recommend. Firstly, before jumping into a moot or any competition for that matter, know where your interests lie, right? So for me, even though like mooting was something I always liked and I always wanted to do, but apart from that, I also knew that I wanted to explore public international law and associated fields. And that is the reason why I started my journey in moots with PIL moots specifically. What that does is 2 things. Firstly, you enjoy the process a lot more, because trust me, mooting and other such activities will become grueling after a point. And there will be moments where you will question why you're doing that activity in the first place. So if you love the subject enough, that makes it easier. And secondly, chart your way out. Don't have a restricted vision that you just want to participate in a competition just for the sake of participating. Evaluate what you want to get out of it. If it is exposure in law or building connections or just learning new skills, have those prioritized and you will do a lot better in that competition. This also helps you to put in 100% and also to get more out of the experience is what I believe.
Right. If you could just quickly run through the publications part. The most common problem I believe the students deal with is to get started with writing in the first place. So what would you say is your mechanism of getting yourself to write and get your work published, since it is so important for law students?
So I remember back in my first year when I actually got my first publication, there used to be one professor of ours who used to have this saying in classroom that it's only difficult to get your first publication. After you get that first publication, the process is not that difficult anymore. So I believe having a systematic approach and reading up as much as you can will help you. So if you want to, let's say, write a blog piece, start slow. You don't need to write a research paper in your first year. You can publish a couple of blogs, understand where your interest lies, how much you can take argumentation forward, and then slowly develop into research papers, etc. Now, let's say there are certain blogs and certain ideas you have. Before jumping right into writing something, you need to understand how people have approached it and what are the different styles people are writing in. So the only way to go about it is read as much as you can. Read, if you want to write a blog, just read 100 of blogs. That is the only way to get it. Once that first paper or that first blog is out, trust me, the process of publication becomes a lot easier, because then you understand what the point of view of the editors is and what the literature requires from you. It's not just basic review, and sometimes even reviewing is enough, depending on the area of law. But most of the times, it is getting to understand what is needed in that area and what literature can contribute to it. It's not just about writing a paper, it's also about evolving a paper which helps someone. So yeah, reading a lot and working strategically on your first paper can help you through the rest of the papers you write ever.
All right, that was a wonderful session, Sayam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and interacting with us. I'm very sure this session is going to be very helpful for all the students who are watching it. I, on behalf of ILCC, wish you all the best for your bright future ahead. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Niharika.